Production Set, and I'm back with a review. Today I'll be looking at this, a Hornby Peckett. This particular model is the R3679 Peckett W4 Port of London Authority number 74. Got this model for £80, so it's 20% £20 off the recommended retail price. This is just the standard Hornby Railways packaging with the outer sleeve and block of ice insert. The model also comes with the instructions, which just go over the general information about maintenance, body removal, DC fitting and such like. See there? It's quite amazing that they managed to fit a decoder in, although it is one of the 4-pin decoders, so you'll have to look around online for one of those. So the block of ice, just the outer sleeve comes off and then unclips. Now the first thing you'll notice if you get one of these is just how heavy it is. So just before we scrutinise this model, I just want to give you an impression of how heavy this thing actually is. Now quite clearly the saddle tank's made out of die cast and so are parts of the running plate. It's so heavy that it weighs more than this, a comparatively massive Hornby R3679. That just proves that this is quite a high quality model. Anyway, first and foremost, you have the livery, which has been applied to an extremely high standard. All the numbering and lining is extremely crisp all around the locomotive. Unfortunately, however, if you look between the die-cast saddle tanks and the cab, which is made out of plastic, there is a noticeable difference in the shade of colour, but besides that the paintwork is done to a very high standard. Although for this gold strip here, which runs along the cab, Hornby has used their gold fleck paint, which no one's too keen on, same for the number 74. Despite that, however, it's done to a very fine standard. At the front of the locomotive we have separately fitted metal buffers which aren't sprung, but considering how small the buffer beam is, I think we can forgive Hornby for leaving that feature out, same on the back. At the front of the locomotive we have a separately fitted coupling hook, separately fitted and painted smokebox dart, and there are handrails running all along the side tanks which are very fine and made out of metal. On the side of the locomotive, just underneath the boiler, you can see representation of the pipework and the reversing lever, which are unfortunately plastic. However, they're done to quite a nice standard and there's no visible plastic flashing. On the underside of the locomotive, there's some basic underframe detail and also the sanding gear. And just look at these tiny side rods. I mean, there's my thumb there. They really are tiny and they're painted red, which is a really nice feature as well. Now, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but Hornby has actually moulded suspension springs, if you can see behind that pipework there. And it's just amazing, considering you wouldn't even notice such a thing unless you were looking extremely closely. At the top of the locomotive we have a separately picked out funnel. Unfortunately it does just feel like a plastic piece which has been painted, and if you look very closely you can see there is a sort of a line between where the paint... Actually, I'm not sure. If it's a separately fitted piece, then I'm not sure if it's metal. Anyway, there are also some separately fitted pipework and safety valves on the top of the boiler. And quite interestingly, the whistle, which is made out of metal. And it doesn't flex at all, which is a really good feature. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first batch of Pecketts didn't actually have metal whistles. They were made out of plastic, so this must be a different batch, and Hornby's since improved the model. Anyway, moving on to the cab, you can see that we have glazed windows at the front and the back, and this is probably the most amazing feature of the model. I mean, struggling to get any light in there, but just look at that. You can see all the levers, all the gauges have been picked out, all the pipework. You have the brake lever, reversing handle, regulator, all those red, I'm not sure what they're called, wheels, have all been picked out, and it's done to an incredibly high standard. I mean, to the extent that, because these locomotives in real life were very compact, you can see the brake lever actually juts out, and Hornby has... been faithful to that and has this bulge on the back of the cab, which is very impressive indeed. The model also comes with separately fitted lamp irons, and there are also these silver handrails on the side of the cab, and it also comes with standard NEM couplings, which just have the standard slot. Now, one unfortunate thing that I found, especially when I got it straight out of the box, this gear here was quite loaded with grease, and I had to clean that up a bit. And you can see there are glue marks around the steps and the sanding gear. However, the rest of the locomotive seems to be pristine. There's just that bit there. Then again, if you weren't looking at the model upside down, you wouldn't notice such a thing. But to have no glue marks at all is a sign of high quality. Besides that though, this is an extremely highly detailed model, and I can't wait to get it onto the layout and give it a test run. Here I am on the layout to test this absolutely gorgeous locomotive. Unfortunately, I've only got the basic Hornby analog controller to test it on, so we won't see the locomotive's full potential, and there might be a slight buzzing noise, but that'll be due to the controller and not the locomotive. So just creeping backwards actually, so you can see she is moving very slowly indeed. That is very impressive on quite a basic controller. I'm sure if you had a HM2000 or a Gauge Master, you'd get much better slow speed, but even with this basic controller, you can see just how smoothly and slowly she runs. As far as I know, she's only got a 3-pole motor. However, clearly Hornby's using good quality 3-pole motors compared to the likes of Bachmann. Anyway, I'll hitch this up to a rake of trucks and we'll have a good old-fashioned running session. Overall, I think this is an excellent model, especially if you can get it at the right price. It runs well, it looks nice, and as long as yours doesn't have any quality issues, it'll be perfect for any industrial layout. Anyway, thanks for watching, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!